Hi Thea. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Thank you all for joining us for another month of Practical Cosmic Magic. Last month, we gave you both videos at the beginning of the month. This month, we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to give you the first half of the aspects of the month, and then we're going to feel into the way the new moon plays out a little bit, and then we'll give you the second half so that we can actually feel it and it's a little more embodied as well as integrated. How are you today, Thea? As we're recording this, the moon is where? I
The
believe it's in
moon is in
Capricorn.
Capricorn. Yep, it just entered Capricorn. It was void most of the day until noon, and it's actually the last quarter square. And a big new moon for a big new month up ahead. We're so excited to dive right in.
All right, so let's just start. We'll start with the 1st of April. So on the 1st of April, we have the new moon in Aries. It's going to be at 11 degrees and 30 minutes of Aries. It's going to be so we have it at 2:24 p.m. And for me, what I have in my notes over here is what would you like to focus on creating and what's your ultimate passion? It's a question of like what motivates us and how we find our inner fire if we feel like we've lost it, especially since we've gone through an entire year. Like the Aries new moon is the literal astrological new year. Well, we consider it on the spring equinox, but it feels like really real once we get into the Aries new moon, no?
I
Um,
totally agree. And I'm so excited for this fire. My Sag is so sad. Sagittarius, my Sag is so excited for this fire. We're also getting a full month, like a full month, like a full lunar cycle at the beginning of the month and ending it at the end of the month, which we don't normally do. We usually get new moons first week of the month or second week of the month. But for April and May, we're actually really feeling into new cycles at the start of the calendar months. So this feels like a new year, a new month, like really a lot of refreshing newness, like a lot of spark. Although we still have a lot of water placements, so what I'm feeling here in my body is a lot of steam coming up, especially since this
mm,
new moon is conjunct Chiron. And again, Chiron is our wounded healer. Chiron has been in Aries for a while, and it continues to be in Aries for a while. And we keep talking about Chiron and Aries. This is our identity wound, and with steam and with water and fire coming together, and Chiron there with the new moon, it's really steam coming up to the surface for like there's no bypassing it anymore. It's a yummy time. I say yummy, but it's not yummy. It's a
mm.
yummy time to heal, to really do that shadow work, to really dive into those core identity wounds, whether you want to do it or not. It's up in your conscious awareness. Yeah, before I move to April 2, anything else you want to add for the 1st of April?
Yeah, I also thought of like understanding how and when we react from our inner child and our inner wounds versus actually responding from our inner authority. And that's a big one, right? Because it's
Mm,
reaction versus responding.
mm,
And I mean, it's almost automatic to understand that when we're reacting from our triggers. So I
mm,
think some practical tips for that day would be to notice our triggers, to maybe get some cardio in, get our heartbeat up so that we're
mm,
in this higher state. So that when we notice our triggers, we also know how to bring ourselves out of it, how to bring
mm,
ourselves up higher to those nicer vibrations.
mm,
Um, and then I also think it's a good time to set our intentions, but notice when we're playing small because of the wounded child in us, right? And instead of playing small, how can we create intentions that we wish we were allowed to create when we were younger? like all those dreams that we told our parents, I want to be blah, blah, blah. I want to be a fairy when I grow up. And our parents were like, hey, be smart. You can't be a fairy. Humans can't be fairies. It's like, freaking write that down as an intention. If you want to be a fairy, you can be a fairy.
I want to be a fairy. I'm a fairy. I'm all
Exactly.
grown
There you
up and
go.
I'm a fairy.
There's your focus for the next 12 months.
um, yeah, that's beautiful. Really set your intentions with your little child, with your inner child, um, right in center. Especially as the part of fortune is in Leo, we have a Leo ascendant that day. So Leo is rising, Leo is right in the horizon. At the time of the new moon, yeah, like be brave with your dreams. Be like open your heart to all these possibilities and just really think of your inner child and what your inner child would want to do for this new year. So happy new year, guys.
Happy New Year. Okay, with that, we move to the second. On the second, we have Sun conjunct Chiron, and then Mercury conjunct Chiron. To me, this is wounded egos coming up and being spoken about. It's also understanding, though, that there is a good side to this, and it's a possibility of healing our wounds by speaking up about our wounds. And I don't know. I think it's a tricky situation though, because if we speak up and it's still too raw, there is potential for argument. And with all this Aries energy, it's so quick and so fast.
Mm.
How do you feel could be a good way to make use of this day without getting into too much of the fire?
Ooh, I think here, because we're talking about steam, and the opposite of Aries is Libra. How can we, instead of focusing that steam outward towards projecting or reacting towards the other, how can we, um, I don't want to say surrender anymore, but actually try to find the balance between uh, projecting and reflecting? Because oftentimes when we have that much steam, it's too hot to stay. You want to get yourself out of it, right?
Mhm.
If it's too hot in the sauna, it's just you couldn't breathe, so you have to get out. But in this instance, instead of getting out, how can you make space to witness what is being projected, especially as the sun is shining its light on that wound, and oftentimes that wound becomes a mirror. So, how can we use this day as an actual mirror to what has to be reflected and reeled back in for healing? Because there may be a lot of projections that we're going to see outside of us. So, yeah, that's what I want to say. And yeah, what's coming up for you for the second with all these conjunctions for Chiron?
Uh, yeah, I think it's hot. But if we do that work the day before of understanding and getting to know our triggers, when they come up again on the second, we're a little more aware like, oh, okay, I know now that this is a trigger. How can I respond differently than I have been responding? Because after all, this is an opportunity, right? It's a new moon, it's a new time, it's a new energy. And then I think a practical tip for the second is write a letter to your wounded inner child. Listen to his or her woes and wishes and tell him or her what you're going to do to help them feel more seen moving forward. So it's a
Mm.
time of opening up to your inner child, understanding, okay, I feel like when I was a kid, my parents said this, I couldn't do this. And now I don't need them to see me because I see me. And because I see me, I see how worthy I am to create this life for myself.
Hmm, that's lovely. That's really lovely, especially as um, Mars is slowly getting out of Aquarius and Lilith is also getting out of Gemini. There can
Yep.
really be a lot of chatter, a lot of talking, and Mercury in Aries just wants quick, like hot headedness, um,
talk about
Yeah,
everything that comes to your head,
yeah,
like
without
just
any
share and share and share
filter.
and share. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm seeing here that Jupiter is also moving toward its conjunction to Neptune, which is going to
Yep.
exact this month too. So we can definitely tap into water and see where we can express more compassion, like express more grace for ourselves instead of reacting from our wounds.
Absolutely. And speaking of talking, on the third, Sun conjunct Mercury in Aries. To me, that's about how we're carrying out our mission. What is our mission even? Do we know it? Have we thought of it? And are we surrounding ourselves with communities that allow us to head toward this mission? And then I feel like there's also a question of what kind of mental activity is going on beyond the surface. Is it
Mm.
promoting us I mean, is it promoting stoking our fire or is it dimming our fire? And if it's
Mm.
dimming our fire, how can we rewrite the mental activity that's going on? Yes, it's really quick and fast and sometimes tactless. So, how can we, I guess, invite ourselves to take a step back, even just for this day, to notice what our communication looks like with ourselves? Because when we actually do slow down, we realize, like, wow, sometimes we really do jail ourselves just through our thoughts. How do we, like, how and why do we do this to ourselves? What does this feel like to you?
Part of being human, I guess. To
Exactly.
me, this is really a good day to start writing a new healing story. We've had the first 2 days, like again, that steam, that story, all the light shining on our core identity wounds. We've actually had a lot of light shining on our core identity wounds. We've been having this for a while. But on this conjunction, on this Kazimi, Sun conjunct Mercury day, it's also a good time to reflect what was happening to you way back January 24. Because between Mercury and Sun, that synodic cycle in their dance, this is like a full moon. So this is a culmination of that cycle. So what was happening to you when Mercury was in Aquarius, and I think that was a good reflection, Karina, what you said, what groups and associations, what dreams, write it down. And also, again, like just write a new healing story for yourself, because those old stories that you've been telling yourself, that you've been communicating to yourself and to others around how hurt you've been, how traumatized you've been about the past, what happened to you, your core trauma, da 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 da. Yes, that's acknowledged, but also then what? Right? What next? It's up to you to continue reliving that traumatic story, or actually start from this day with that Aries fire, with a new year to start writing a new healing story for yourself.
Beautiful. I love that you said write a new healing story, because my practical tip is create affirmations you can come back to through the year to remind you of your mission and focus back here. Like,
Mm.
how can we feel into our trailblazing ideas and finally take action on them, especially if they feel or if they make us feel a little bit nervous, because that's when we know that they're worthy, that's when we know that they're so special. And we use this nervous feeling and channel it into even more excitement, because
Mm.
oh my God, it's finally here. The time is finally here to like go, just go. Like all planets are direct. Pluto starts moving retrograde towards the end of the month, I believe. But for right now, we're being called to go. And so there should be no reason that our our younger wounds or our inner childs are preventing us from moving forward when there is such limitless potential here.
Yep, I agree. Perfectly, perfectly, 100%. And on the 4th, we have Venus trine Lilith. Ooh, Lilith. What
Plus
does
moon in
this
Taurus. I like this
moon? Okay,
this day.
please.
Okay, so I wrote plus moon in Taurus because to me this feels so risky, like risky. It feels daring and risk taking, especially when it comes to love and relationships for me, because this is Aquarius and Gemini energy, but Taurus makes it very sensual. And, Venus adds the love aspect, but Lilith adds that like wild feminine aspect. So it's a really good day, in my opinion, to embrace your inner daredevil and speak up about your hopes and dreams for humanity, no matter how far fetched they may seem, and realize our power to go for them. But then, in a romantic perspective, I feel like this is such an amazing day to spend quality time with your partner or lover and set the mood with good food and good drinks and like just a nice vibe, because it's Taurus. And that
Mm.
allows both of you to witness the most empowered version of yourselves through your words because of both their
Oh,
signs. This is what I'm getting. How do you feel about that?
beautiful. I see Pluto on the 28th degree also. That's in conjunct and concups Lilith that day. So yes, that's a good time. So if we can focus on that light, because Pluto is still there, and Pluto's like, hey you, there's still a lot of transformation that's needing to be done here. Don't forget the dark. Um, don't forget the sensuality, um, and how you can actually bring more of that towards what you're transforming. Like all this rebirth that we've just went through and we keep going through with Pluto, it doesn't have to be ugly. So with Taurus, with the moon in Taurus there, and with Lilith slowly moving out of Gemini, I feel like this is also a good opportunity to um, tap into sensual pleasure, tap into our relationships to help us really tend to our wounds. We've just had all that Chiron action and Mercury with Chiron, so how can we allow our tenderness, and how can we allow earthly pleasures to ease, sort of like put a balm um, onto our wounds.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I Pluto just adds an extra like risky aspect to it, because it's like you could stop because it's too dangerous, or you could go for it and see what happens when you play with the danger. I think
Mm.
that's the oomph that Aries season is giving us. Like, okay, you've been flirting with this idea, but you don't want to take action. Here's your chance. Take the action.
Mm.
Um, it's getting really hot here too, as the sun's like being like, "Hey, I feel you, Aries, fire passion thing." um, I wanted to add that I wrote, "What makes you feel free, capable, and wild? Can you step into the vibration of one of these words today? Free, capable, wild, or anything in that domain?"
Ooh, and I just also want to say Pluto um ruled our desires. It rules that desires that we've been suppressing. So how can you jump, like Karina said, how can you really jump into that fear and understand what's really been stopping you to embrace that desires? Like what stories, Mercury is so close by with Sun and Chiron, what stories actually keep you in your fear and keep you limited from taking your risk to go after those desires? Because your desires are yours, uniquely yours for a purpose. And yeah, what conditioning has actually been robbing you of your power from moving forward with the risks that you want to take for towards your desires? So that's where are we? That's the fourth.
Yeah. So we move into the fifth. And
Yes.
on the fifth, Venus enters Pisces. And we have Mars conjunct Saturn. um, okay, I'm gonna let you start with this one. And I also want to know what you think about Venus going into Pisces for money and crypto. And
Mm.
yeah.
So I'll probably start with a challenging aspect, which is this conjunction between um, Mars and Saturn. So Mars, that's our fire, that's our drive, that's our passion, meeting Saturn, stern, structured, limitation. So I don't know what can happen in the world stage. The world is going to continue to turn as it would, keeping our eyes out and our hearts open for the people in Ukraine and what can potentially happen. But this is and with Lilith there also, I see an aspect with Lilith on the same day. Just, just be careful with how you use your words to express. And if there is a feeling of limitation, or if there's a feeling of control, or if there's an outer authority that may dampen the mood in terms of, I don't know, locking you down somewhere from really expressing that fire, we can use Venus entering Pisces and just remember um, how we can be graceful, how we can flow into situations and find creative solutions outside of that limitation. Because oftentimes we don't know what we don't know until we're forced to know something else. Does that make sense? Because if we're only until we're pushed to the wall, sometimes we can't exercise creativity. And so what I'm seeing here with Venus and money, there can be a dissolution in some sort of fiat system. That's what's coming to me. But that dissolution can just be an avenue towards a creative avenue for something else to flow into. So we have to allow something to dissolve, to allow something else to flow through. So, yeah, definitely a good time to check out what other ways we can divest, how we can expand our portfolio, but just be careful of not being overly optimistic. Because on the one hand, yes, we get that Saturn and Mars, which is like a lot of astrologers are talking about, another potential lockdown. I don't know. It is probable. It is a probability, but Venus entering Pisces, I just see really a lot of creative solutions around money. So if things come to a head, and you feel really constricted and you feel really limited, we can look to Venus and see um, how we can tap into our imagination and how we can tap into our creativity to actually allow us to flow out of the rut that we find ourselves that day.
Okay, thank you for sharing all of those very interesting ideas. I definitely agree that something has to dissolve to be able to create something that is different and more trailblazing, I guess. I also feel like this is a chance to create from our dream states and also feel into how our self worth has evolved as we've leveled up our values. I think it's also a good time to let go of everything that's preventing us from reaching our full potential and allowing us to shine our brightest. And I also think it's fascinating that Mars conjunct Saturn is happening on the same day that Venus enters Pisces because it brings about a little bit of balance, you know? Like usually Mars conjunct Saturn would feel so constricting and so like limiting, but Venus moving into Pisces is just so boundless. It makes me think of a jellyfish. And so when you put a jellyfish with like a militarian, is that a word, militarian? Or someone from the military, let's say. I mean, I can't even imagine what would happen when you put these two energies together. So it would be interesting, I feel like, to feel into it and how someone that's so like military minded could be um made to just flow and float. I don't know. Anyway, this also asks a question for me of how we can take responsibilities for our dreams and aspirations and make sure that our values align with our goals. Also, may bring about something with technology and how much freedom we have around technology. And then I feel like it also may feel like we're constricted, but then we're only as constricted, like you were saying, as as our perceived reality allows us to believe we are, right? And this Venus in Pisces is such a gift,
Mm,
so that we just come back to the heart, and
mm,
not only to our own hearts, but to the heart of the entire world, to
mm,
understand that, yes, it does feel constricting. Yes, it does feel like we're in crazy times that we're never going to get out of. But if
mm,
we choose to focus the other side, there are so many things going um, a different way, whether
mm,
that's like a way that's better, whether it's whatever. I don't want to say better or worse because there are just so many different perspectives, but
mm,
there are so many different ways that things are going about if only we decide to change our focus.
mm,
um yeah, even though Mars and Saturn are so big and they're like, yo, look here,
mm,
if you choose to finally be like, hey, you know what, I'm done listening to you, I'm gonna look
mm.
here, maybe you might see something beautiful.
Yeah, and as you were speaking about the militaristic, um, the image that came to mind was actually putting a rose um on the barrel of a gun. So instead of shooting bullets, you're actually shooting roses. Um, that's what
I
came to
have
me
a
with Aries.
Banksy piece that's literally, I have it in my room. I can't remember it because it just fell down. So I haven't been seeing it so often. But I think he's holding a bouquet of flowers and throwing it as if he's like throwing something, uh, like something, but it's actually a bouquet of roses. So it's exactly that. Like, how can you,
Mm.
instead of shooting with such anger, shoot with roses? And I love that rose behind you. That's like, yes, compassion, love. Um,
That's so Venus in that's so Venus in Pisces.
yeah, yeah. I feel like if you want to understand a representation of this, look at Banksy's art and you can see like Venus in Pisces slash Venus in Scorpio. And then for the
Mm.
practical tip for this day, I feel like it would be important to do something that allows us to feel free within limits. Maybe it's a dance sequence, maybe it's yoga that allows you to explore, maybe it's playing a sport, but not with the rules. It's just free playing the sport. It can have the rules if you like that kind of thing. But I also feel like because the energy already feels so constricting, instead of adding to it, or remind yourself that you don't always have to adhere to the
Yep. What I'm seeing here is watch a freaking Disney movie.
rules.
Watch Little Mermaid.
Under the sea.
Yeah, watch Little Mermaid or listen to music. Create art. Doesn't have to be structured art. The more unstructured it can be. If there's any way that you can channel your limitation to something like Karina said, that's without limit or without form or without constriction, that would be super awesome for this day.
Beautiful. That takes us to the seventh. The seventh is Mercury sextile Saturn. To me, this is quick and creative ideas working with our inner authority. It's a question of how do we use this age of Aquarius to actually step into our quirkiness and to be a leader that we wish we always had but never did. I think it's a good time to begin a game plan on how to proceed, and a good day to journal about how we might be limiting or hindering ourselves for the fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel for you?
I like that. I also feel like this day is amazing, amazing day to strategize. I mean, like all those dreams, all that intention that you set on the new moon, this is the day to write that letter, to write that email, to write that course curriculum. Whatever it is that you're planning to launch, April is the day to launch it, but this day, the 7th, is the day to actually write out your plan for that launch. Um, Marketing campaign, anything that needs focus, anything that needs determination, and anything that really needs that structured plan. Um, yeah, write it down, all those checklists. Mercury and Aries likes to finish things. It
Mm,
likes to start things, but it also has that drive and that focus with Saturn there to actually finish it and do the work. So use this day to write down the list of things you have to do, so that you can set your dream life in motion.
I love that. I think it's also like totally in line with that. List down everything that you have in progress. And it's a good day to set your mind on whether or not you want to move forward with it. Like with Saturn there, it's a good day to be like, okay, yes, this is worth my time. No, this is not worth my time, because we really need those boundaries and barriers, especially with Aries and so much coming our way. If we're going to be saying yes to everything, we're not going to be able to sustain ourselves. Um, and so, yeah, as Thea said, write down all those dreams and how you plan to get to them and strategize, but also know what's worth your time and what's not worth your time, because your time is precious.
Yes, amazing. Okay, so that moves us to the next day when Mars squares the North Node. Ooh.
That's the 8th of April.
That's the 8th of April. What I always say when planets square the nodes, it's a choice point. And I think it's a beautiful segue when Karina said that just filter everything and remove everything that is no longer in alignment. That's Mars for you. Mars separate, it removes, it severs. So we can definitely use this day to sever our ties from the past. So South Node. So where have we been manipulating? Where have we been manipulated? Where have we been attaching so much into security, relationships, or subconscious patterns that we know do not serve us anymore? And how can we align ourselves more into what we need to create, what we need to transform so that we can manifest that dream life? It is a choice point. So we have this day to, yeah, remove ourselves from the past and attach ourselves to our future.
You make it sound so simple. I love it. I
But
wish
it's
we could
not.
just be like bypassed. We're moving towards the North Node. Peace out. But yeah, I love the way you put it, though. It makes it feel achievable, and I mean that's all we have as humans, right? Hope that we can actually do it. Um, to me, I wrote, is technology promoting or hindering us from where we're meant to be going as a planet? It feels like there is so much that technology can do to help our planet. At the same time, it does so much to distract humans from living their full potential. How can we make it work for us instead of becoming slaves to our technology? A practical tip for me is start tracking your screen time versus nature time. Spend more time outside and connect with your true nature, because if we don't spend time to connect with who we actually are and with our true nature, everything that we're projecting, everything that we're posting, it's all a pretense. And it's easy to fall into this during Aries season because we want attention, we want to be admired, we want to be seen. But if we're being seen for someone that we're pretending to be, like, who's winning? No one. And so I think this is a good day to kind of keep ourselves in check and be like, are we doing what we really want to do, or are we doing things just for the sake of doing things and for the sake of like wrecking havoc or getting attention or creating drama? Because as much as drama is drama, it's still attention. And as much as it's distracting, Aries freaking loves distracting.
I actually like how you said drama because um, the 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 empty point here is Leo. This T square. So T square because we have Mars squaring the opposition between the nodes. Doesn't it? Yeah, it forms a T. And the opposite of that is Leo. So where can you check your ego? Can you leave it out of the door? Where can you open your heart to just be brave and move towards again your North Node, and your true nature? Yeah, just echoing what Karina said, I think that's beautiful. Where are you being overly dramatic, and how can you tone it all the way down, especially with Mars there? How can you tone it down and see what the collective needs more than yourself? Um, that's one question. Or where can your um, personal unique light, personal unique talent actually serve the collective? Where can you find the balance? You don't have to be totally egoistic. I mean, ego is still healthy. We can't just totally dissolve our ego. So, how can we use that to serve um, and be a compassionate leader, not just for ourselves, but for others also?
Yeah, and as you were saying that and talking about bravery, it made me remember something I was watching by Braca
Hmm.
Goldsmith. And she was sharing about how if we're not courageous or if we don't feel brave, all we have to do is pretend that we're brave or courageous. And nobody else knows the difference. Like only we know that we're pretending to be brave. But if we're pretending to be brave, we're already brave because in pretending to be brave, we're doing the things that we're afraid of. And once we get into that rhythm, then we're like, okay, I can do hard things. I can do hard things. And we just keep doing hard things and we just keep being brave. So all it takes to be brave is that 1 second that you're like, nope, I'm going to go do it. And this day, like Mars square north node, this is good, like momentum to be like, let's go, let's do this.
Yes, so beautiful. We need that Leo bravery, especially as we straddle the past and the future. And
Absolutely.
yep, that is the choice point that we're getting there. What are we going to choose? I hope we can choose from our heart.
Which takes us to the 9th of April, Mercury sextile Mars. For me, I listed tempers may be high and to watch our words. Also, to take action through technology on revolutionary ideas. There is unlimited potential and possibility here. Would we dare to activate it? Because it just feels so good. This energy feels so good, but also like it like so chaotic.
So
Um,
combustible.
exactly, exactly. How do you feel about it?
Fire and air. Fire and air is wildfire. So definitely our words and our thoughts can. We have that power to create a wildfire, but we also have the power to stoke everyone else's fire with our words, with our thoughts. How can we inspire instead of creating wildfire?
Mm.
Is what I'm getting here. There's a lot of tension that can happen outside. So how can we instead, how might we use that tension to just create and innovate new paths to improve society, improve our communities? There's so much. I mean, with Mercury and Aries, there's just so much passion to share, to create, to write, to talk, to socialize. So it's also so easy for people to just take to the streets and fight for what they believe is right. But that's good. I mean, in a way it's good because we're able to fight for what we believe in, but also know that at a certain extent it's also contributing to us polarity. um so I'm not saying either one is good or bad, like emotions are neutral, these are all neutral, it's what we do. I feel like, and it's our intention behind what we do matters. So yeah, how can just we use this day to inspire others instead of adding to the wildfire that's just spreading across everywhere?
Yep, yep. I like that. And I wrote for a practical tip. What are some actionable steps you can take today to create an environment where you feel comfortable to share your breakthrough ideas? And we provide you with one in case you don't know it yet. We have the Mata Discord where we're all sharing our feelings, how the astrology is landing in our body. Thea shares with us lunascopes every day where the moon is and what's going on, and it's amazing, quite frankly. Like you don't even need to go look for this information. You're getting the information and you're like, oh yeah, I feel it in my bones. So if you're not in there and you would like to join us, please shoot us a message. We will add you in there. And otherwise, go ahead and create other communities where you feel like if you relate more to them, if you have like common interests, create these communities so that you're actually able to brainstorm and share the ideas. And instead of them just living within your mind and driving you crazy, you're actually sharing them with people, and you're able to workshop the ideas, is what I want to say. As you were speaking, I shuffled the deck because we haven't pulled any cards today yet, and we had three cards fall out. So let's say these cards are from the 1st of April until the 9th of April, because that's what we've been talking about. First card is the Wheel of Fortune, which means we're putting things into action, or maybe we have already put things into action. The dice is rolling, things are happening. The result is not necessarily in our control, but what's important is that we're taking the chances and trusting that we've done what we are meant to do. And now the ball is in the universe's court. The second card that fell out is Magician. We are magicians. We have the tools. This is a tool. You have the tools within you. Like that's how we were able to take the chance, because we have the tools. So if only we'd appreciate ourselves for the tools that we have, instead of thinking that the tools that we have are limited, maybe, just maybe, we're finally going to be able to go where we're trying to go and birth this new age that we've been meaning to birth. But beware of romanticized ideas. See, his feet are not on the ground. His feet are freaking flying, and there's a flying pig over there. So beware of overly romanticized ideas, but understand that when you step into vibration, when you step into your emotions, when you step into creativity, you get to this point where you don't need to have your feet on the ground. Your feet are allowed to lift up, because you've realized what's important. You've realized the tools, you've realized what's essential, you've honed that in. And because you've already honed that in and started this process, you're now allowed to be optimistic and be like, ooh, what if I actually do become a fairy? Sticking with our fairy example, but you've started things have started rolling. Get yourself to the point where you're allowing yourself to sit at the edge of the building with your feet dangling, without thinking, oh shit, I'm going to fall off right now. But instead thinking, oh, even if I fall, that's what's meant to happen right now.
And if you fall, make the fall spectacular.
Make it worth
And
it.
know that you're gonna land in cotton candy.
That's literally what this card is saying. You're going to
Because
land in cotton
Venus,
candy.
yeah, Venus in Pisces, that's actually where Uranus in Taurus is dispositing. So whatever Uranus is shaking up and breaking down in your body, your resources, your relationships, it's landing in water. It's landing in just, unbounded, like, I'm really seeing cotton candy. When I close my eyes, I see pink and blue cotton candy clouds. That's what I'm getting with Uranus and Taurus dispositing in Venus in Pisces. And I say dispositing because Uranus is in Taurus and Venus rules Taurus, and Venus just moved into Pisces. So yeah.
Okay, and then on the 10th, yeah, we got to the 10th.
Yeah, you're on the 10th. Mercury square Pluto.
Exactly. Um, hmm. To me, this is, how do your old ways of being prevent you from being daring with your thoughts and in conversations? Let those limiting beliefs and stressful self talk go. Allow yourself to transform into the most vivacious version of yourself. That's what I feel, because I like this Aries energy, and I feel I'm so over the Pluto Capricorn energy. Although I know that we need it, and we need to keep transforming and dying and transforming and dying. How can we at least start communicating part of what has been born from that process?
Mm. I like what you said. It's actually what I'm going to echo. How can we start sharing and communicating our healing story? Because we created a new healing story when when Mercury conjunct Chiron and Sun. So now, because we have this new healing story, how can we slowly come out and share it with others? Especially as this restructuring, I mean, all of us at varying degrees are different people now, and also all of us in varying degrees um, have it. It's a difficult time. It's a difficult time for a lot of people. So how can we just start communicating that difficulty? And this is also a way, because we're communicating, we're thinking about it, right? It's an opportunity for us, because we're transmuting all that energy into words. It's an opportunity for us to get ourselves out of the situation. And remember when we talked about squares during that video on the aspects? Squares oftentimes feel like it's no one's fault. It's nobody's fault, but something has to move. We have to get ourselves out of that situation. And with this square, it can feel like, oh my gosh, I need to get out of this situation. I have to share this feeling of having to get out of the situation. So go share, because this square, there is a propensity to explode. If not explode, there's a propensity to implode. And we don't want that, because of all this fire and all this earth, right? We want to be able to share it and express it, but in a healthy, graceful way. So, can we go back to that healing story and just share it and see which community resonates, and how can we actually find a tribe and a community that resonates with that new healing story? Because this is a new you, this is a new skin that you're wearing, and with your bravery a few days ago with Leo energy there, it's really an opportunity to start shining your light and find your tribe if you haven't yet, because your tribe is out there, and your tribe is out there to help you with your healing work.
Absolutely. I love that. Practical tip for that day: be really honest with yourself about the behavioral patterns that you have adopted based on tradition and society. But don't really believe. Be really honest with yourself about them, and then change the way you communicate with yourself. If you're still adhering to it, it's okay. You don't need to say, I'm so stupid. I keep doing the same things again and again. You can instead say, oh, okay, self, I see that you're doing that because of habit, and that's okay. But let's use this as an opportunity to start fresh. Because there is such a big difference, right? I'm so stupid. How could I have done that? Versus, okay, self, maybe it's time we take a different route. You hear it in the tone. You can imagine how that lands within your body. And so many times we say like these derogatory words to ourselves for no reason. Like, why do we do this? Again, part of the human story, but how can we use this as a day to change that story, change the way we communicate, change the insults that we use, for God's sake? Like, I can't believe people are still using like pussy and gay and fag as insults. It's not okay anymore. So this is also a day to check in with yourself if you use insults like these, and realize that it's not fine, because this is how we start changing the narrative. If we're not speaking like this, and if I didn't say any of this, we're promoting like things like this going on, and it's just enough. Quite frankly, this is why we do what we do. It's enough. And so how can we just stand up, and if we hear someone say it, call them out, tell them, hey, that's not okay. Maybe you can say something else. And I mean, I was gonna suggest something else, but why don't you just say something else? Be nicer. Or okay, if you don't want to be nicer, don't insult another group of people. Um, and for some reason, that brings me to like, as I see two birds flying, which made me lose my train of thought. But it also, like, when we use insults like this, we're not only putting other people down, but we're also putting ourselves down, and we're also um, digging in that Chiron wound into our own ego. Yeah. So how can we just be a little more mindful? But in true fashion, because on the 11th, Mercury sextile Lilith one last time before she moves into Cancer. To me, this is surrounding yourself with a community that's not intimidated when you're living the most empowered version of yourself. You deserve to claim your highest timeline and a community, and you deserve a community that cheers you on for being your best self instead of having a community that's um, getting afraid of you shining from your highest light and then causing again drama. I feel like drama is in the back burner this whole Aries season because of
This
Leo
area.
being amped but not amped enough. But also on this day,
Mm.
Mercury enters Taurus. That's good news.
It
How do you
is.
feel about it?
I actually also want to add on the day before, a tip that we can do is gestalt with your subconscious. So gestalt is um okay, erase. Instead of using the term gestalt, you can use that day because Pluto is intensity and Mercury is thought and communication. We can use that day to pretend that we are conversing with our subconscious patterns or all those stories like fear, desire, like different parts of us, or at least people that we don't really agree with. We can pretend that we are in a room with them and we're conversing. This is a way to open our mind so that we can reassess our values the next day, because Mercury moving into Taurus is us thinking about our values, thinking about our resources, and actually putting the work necessary to get those new values and new resources um, up and running. So we can use the day before with Pluto, with that Pluto Mercury square to like, sort of pretend that we are talking to their higher selves. If there are people that we don't agree with, like Karina said, you know, it's not okay anymore. But instead of adding fire to the wildfire, can we, yeah, can we use that day to really like talk to our subconscious and be like, can we bring this up to light, because all of these things that are happening outside of us are projections of everything that we haven't been dealing with as a collective. So how can we not contribute any more to this collective shadow and just really align with our values? Mercury in Taurus. How about you?
Um, to me, I like this because again, we're I was saying this last month, we are not even at the state that we have so much fire, but I'm already so excited for the grounding that that Mercury in Taurus is gonna bring. But I like this because I feel like communication becomes more sensual. It becomes more felt in our body instead of things like we think something and then we get it out. We actually feel into the things that we're saying because the throat chakra makes such a big difference when it comes to um, Mercury and Taurus and communicating actually with our voice box. And I think it's an opportunity to really bring our thoughts into real life, have conversations like you're saying about our values and about how we think. Because when we bring it to the 3D, we really add some grounding to it. And grounding is very necessary with all the air that's going on with Aquarius, with all the fire that's going on in Aries. If we're allowing all of it to just keep floating, we're missing out on opportunity. So, how do we use this Mercury in Taurus to make it real? How do we ground it into our body? How do we spend time listening to the pulse of the earth and then understanding how to match our pulse with that? A practical tip for me is what would you like to manifest in this 3D world? Speak it, sing it, or share it by using your voice. Because your voice box, like we said, it allows everything that's going on in your body, whether it's a tummy ache, whether it's a sore, whether it's like needing to roll your neck. All of this can come out through your voice box, and once you speak about it, sometimes for some reason it disappears. Have you ever felt like having an ache and maybe if you just speak about it and complain about it, it doesn't go away. But Mercury and Taurus, I feel like is a good time to, if you get an ache, feel into that ache. Close your eyes. Ask the ache, what are you trying to tell me? And then actually feel into it and speak to it like out loud. You may feel silly and you may feel like I don't know what's going on and I may be losing my mind, but just notice, right? That's what all of this is. It's just an opportunity to notice, and if it works for you it does, if it doesn't work for you it doesn't, but try to be more sensual with your body and allow it space to actually speak to you, because our bodies do speak to us. And I don't know, with me and my Taurus moon, I feel like I'm having this entire conversation with myself, telling myself, like, listen to your body more, because it's the way of the future. I mean, with the North Node in Taurus, if we're not listening to our bodies and if all we're listening to is our primal desires, we're going to run ourselves down.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And yeah, so that exercise with having a gestalt with your planets, or just gestalt is actually just pretending that you're talking to someone else in front of you, but then you're just talking to yourself as that someone else is projecting itself on you. But Mercury and Taurus can actually have us also thinking about money, mind on our money and our money on our minds. And with that Saturn Mars limitation and constriction, how I'm seeing this play out is a lot of people are wanting to be more resourceful, because prices may shoot up. Um, I don't know, inflation can continue to, um, like there's just a lot of disruption in, again, like money systems as Uranus continue to shake up Taurus, right? And even food, even like resources, gasoline. What the hell is going on with gasoline prices? So people are gonna. There may be a propensity to be more deliberate with how we use our resources, and so communicating with your partners, communicating with just communicating, like what Karina said, using your throat to actually communicate what's more essential, what's more valuable for you, so you can come up with ways to be more resourceful. And this is a good opportunity for us to be um, creative with our resources, especially as we transform what resources mean for us. Yay! And we're already, like, I'm already seeing Jupiter and Neptune on the 23rd degree. They're in their conjunction, but they exact the day after, on April 12th. This is a century in the making. Conjunction that exacts on this day. How are you feeling this conjunction in your
I feel it like just everybody believing in astrology and everybody believing in what they're hearing. Like, you know how before Jupiter moved into Pisces and we were saying everybody's going to be making proclamations and everybody's going to be a prophet. I feel it already. I have felt it for a while. Like, you see people on social media telling you what to do based on your sign, but giving you one thing to do based on your sign when a sign is so diverse. So I don't know, I see it as magic and magic coming to the forefront. I see it as floatiness. I see it as people wanting to escape, but I ultimately see it as such a big opportunity to bring ourselves to live from a higher timeline. And it all sounds like a bunch of poof and fluff and words. But if we realize that there are boundless opportunities that are available for us, we can step into it. And I feel like this day is the prime day to decide, I'm going to step into this higher timeline. I'm done with this. I'm done. Like, I'm done playing small. I'm done limiting myself with this 3D world. I'm done feeling like I'm not creative and like I don't have a say in my life, because I do. Because I am my own God, but I do still believe in a God, but we are all gods because we are all co creating. I think it's just that. It's realizing we're all one. We're all one and the same. We're the same as the river. We're the same as the mountain. We're the same as the sun. We're the same as a matchbox. We're the same as a Palo Santo stick of wood. Because when we smell that, we become that. When we're by a river, we become the river almost. When we're looking at a mountain, we're able to embody a mountain. And so this conjunction to me just reminds us that we are everything and everything is us. And if we choose to attune, we can. But if we choose to deny, then there is a loud, loud, loud call for escapism. And if that call is there, it's okay because maybe that is your outlet right now. But know that there is possibility for higher timelines. That's what it feels like for me. How does it feel for you?
As you were talking, because I'm looking at the chart and there's Moon square Uranus on that day. So Moon is in Leo, it's squaring Uranus in Taurus. So definitely a lot of ego, a lot of dogma as it breaks. Because the Jupiter conjunct Pisces, Jupiter conjunct Neptune in Pisces to me really feels like people searching for a redeemer, like this Christ consciousness of I need someone to save me. But with with the Moon in Leo squaring Uranus in Taurus, this is an opportunity for you to realize and have that aha moment that I am my own savior. And as more of us, or as more people actually feel into the oneness of all things, there will also be a lot of people who will fight with dogma, right? And be like, this is the faith that you're supposed to hold. This is the dogma that you're supposed to believe. I mean, we live in a paradox and we live in a polarized world. As a lot of people awaken to a higher state of consciousness, more people are going to come out and prophesize that, you know what, you guys are so egoistic to believe that you're actually God, or that, you know, that you're a redeemer or you're a savior. So this is an opportunity to, instead of check out, see how you can unite, you know, all those polarizing factors in you, especially with that square with your emotions. Leo, Moon and Leo is a lot of drama, a lot of egotist, like what I'm seeing here is egomania. But this is such a juicy, 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 juicy aspect that is a gift for us this whole year, especially as Saturn square the nodes. This is an opportunity for us to come out to prayer and understand what prayer means for us. Who are we praying to? What are we praying for? And exercise love and compassion. Although we always talk about this, right? How can we exercise love and compassion all the time? But more so during this time. So yes, it's an opportunity. Like there's a big energy to pop out. There's a big energy to disassociate, especially as a lot of shamans offer their medicine, offer a lot of plant medicine. There's a lot of connection to goddesses and higher states of consciousness that route, which is amazing. It's a renaissance of the 1960s. I think we talked about this last month. But with Uranus and Taurus, it's a revolution of embodiment. So how can we bring that down? How can we bring down that all that juicy, amazing higher consciousness into 3D reality? And how can we use technology to revolutionize how we communicate that higher state of consciousness?
Feels like a slot machine that you just pulled and got the ding, 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 ding. All the correct stuff. I love that. I think that's so powerful. And I think it's also a great time to journal about spirituality versus devotion. What's the difference for you? And as you were speaking, I pulled some cards. Of course, the first card that fell out again was Magician. We have the tools. The tools are within us. We already know. Instead of looking outside, we need to be looking inside. I have more cards to share, but I'm going to use this minute to share a story that happened a week or so ago. So, I mean, nothing happened that I witnessed a week or so ago. So I was sitting at our balcony, and we can see two churches from our home. And so it was dark, and I don't have perfect like far side vision, but I could see a lot of lights turned on where that church was. And it just came to me that it was like churches are lit up so bright, and you go to a church and you listen to someone else tell you how to pray to someone that is outside of you. So like there are all these lights shining and attracting you to come to this place, but also we all have that same light within us. So, what if instead of all going to a place that the light is shining so bright and telling us how to do something, we find communities that allow us to turn on this light and then all commune together with our lights on so that we can create something beautiful instead of all going to this one place where all the lights are on but our light is off. Not saying that there is anything wrong in going to church. There is nothing wrong in going to church, especially if that's somewhere that brings you peace and somewhere that allows you to appreciate and understand oneness. Like churches do that, temples do that. But it's important to not get stuck there. I think it's important to not get stuck in the religion of it because that's where the risk is. There is nothing wrong with religion, but the risk is getting stuck in religion and not realizing the spirituality that exists within ourselves. Um, yeah, just a little shorty story that I felt like I needed to share in line with Jupiter Neptune. Um, and then the second card that fell out was the Lovers. So the first one is Magician, which is we have the magic within ourselves, we have the tools, we're able to activate it. Lovers is bringing it together, bringing one and one together and understanding that there is a duality, there are different ways of being, there is an inner and outer, external, internal. Bring it all together and remember that it's all just two sides of the same coin, which is us. We're the one being, but there are so many different facets. And what makes us realize these facets, and also what allows us to integrate these facets is understanding that this 3D life is about giving and taking. It's not about consuming, but it's about consuming and sharing. It's not about taking and taking, but it's about taking and also giving. It's about understanding that this is a cycle that's going round and round. And if we try to just take and take and take, then again, there is nowhere to go because we're taking. And if we're giving and giving and giving, we're working on an empty cup. So how can we remember that this 3D world operates on this give and take and this cycle? When we disconnect from that cycle, we get confused and we feel like there's just too much going on externally. There's too much going on in our head. We're unable to sleep because we're so anxious because there are two sides and we can't put these two sides together. But when we finally realize that it's all a cycle, maybe we're taking too much, maybe we're consuming too much, maybe we're giving too much, and that's why we're ending up here. That's when we really understand that the reason we may be stuck is because we're allowing ourselves to be stuck. She's looking down, she's covering her face instead of maybe looking at the distance where there are actually colors in the sky, looking at the clouds. Like there are always landscapes, there's always something to look at that will allow you to change your perspective. But if all you're doing is this, you're already surrendering. So how can you remove yourself of that closed, surrendery feeling? And I say this because Aries has armor, right? Aries is a warrior, and warriors wear armor. So what would it take to remove that armor for you to realize that you have everything within you? Um, and then two animal oracle cards fell out. The first one is Pig Spirit, which says use your mind wisely, right? So you can use your mind to perpetuate like stress and anxiety and everything. Or you can use your mind to remember that sometimes pigs can fly. And the other card is Crow Spirit. Crow Spirit, which is talking about co creating with spirit. And so once we understand that we don't need to go find this light outside of ourselves and that this light actually also exists inside of ourselves, it's much easier to integrate the light and the dark, the two sides. It's much easier to create. It's much easier to understand that we can even co-create. But if we're living from the state that we feel like the light is outside of us, that's when we begin feeling hopeless. So if we are feeling hopeless, can we remember that there is a light inside of us that we can turn on? And it's okay if we can't turn it on by ourselves and we need support, because that's what we're here for. We're here to support you We're here to remind you that such a bright light exists inside you. And we need that light to be able to anchor in more light, to be able to have a fighting chance for Earth to even survive.
I'm just soaking up your words, and they're so beautiful because they just perfectly tie into the next 2 days when Jupiter sextiles the North Node, and then Neptune sextiles the North Node on the 14th. But starting with the 13th, we have Sun sextile Saturn. So that's Sun in Aries sextiling Saturn in Aquarius. Everything you just said, how can we remove that armor and actually find that community that allows us support, structure, foundation to realize that we have that light within us? With Jupiter sextile North Node, that actually helps us drive and move towards a better, more equanimous future for our collective. And it's such a juicy aspect with Jupiter having just conjunct Neptune. Again, the last time that this happened was in the 1800s. And although I can say this is a lot of water, a lot of potential flooding, notwithstanding that, it's cleansing, right? We are being purged, we are being cleansed. There are a lot of archetypal stories of the Great Flood, but if you just really think about the psychology of these archetypal myths and their stories, I'm not arguing whether they're true, if they happened or not. It's not the point. The point is there was a purge that had to happen so that new life can begin. And the day after that, with these sextiles to Saturn, whatever that is purged until that day, so all the days leading until that grand conjunction of Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces, it just allows us better foundation to find that group and find that tribe that actually supports that belief, and that truth that we have that light within us. And um, just to share like an esoteric and shamanic story, the age of Aquarius coming from the age of Pisces. So the age of Pisces is right, the ictus, the symbol of Christ as the fish, because as world religions mushroom during the age of Pisces, it's the belief that there's a soul redeemer. So we have Osiris, we have Jesus Christ, we have a lot of archetypal savior, Messiah, Son of God. But with the age of Aquarius, it's not one, it's many. It's all the bearers of light coming together to shine their unique lights in service of humanity. So it's from that one source, that one redeemer, where everyone else is realizing that we are all saviors and we are all redeemers of each other. That is where we are collectively moving towards in terms of this higher consciousness. Just a story. What's coming up for you for the next 2 days?
I think you summed it up perfectly. What actually came into my mind just now as you were talking about everybody coming from the same source, but having different like manifestations made me feel like this Jupiter Neptune conjunction is also going to bring up more people that believe in Eastern practices, more meditations that are like people singing kirtan instead of listening to the homily, like people using their own bodies and their own voices instead of consuming and taking from outside. But then again, of course, there will always be those people that are giving from outside. Therefore, there will always be those people that are receiving from outside, especially if they don't know any better. And especially if we don't know any better, because we're all going through all these motions together, right? At sometimes we're really smart and we know exactly what we're doing, and sometimes we just feel like, the most hopeless people in the world and we don't know what we're doing. It's the human experience. It's a roller coaster and nobody can run away from it and nobody can tell it to go away.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, that's how I feel actually about those next 2 days. It's just like it's a roller coaster. We are finally hitting this Jupiter Neptune conjunction that we've spoken about for so long that I feel like the next couple of days are just going to be a hangover. Not necessarily in a bad way, but maybe a hangover that actually allows us to assimilate what we um, received or downloaded during that day of the conjunction. Um, for Neptune sextiling the North Node, I think write down your dreams again for the earth, for the planet, for humanity. Write them down and dream big. Or maybe don't even write them down yet. Just dream. Allow yourself to daydream and open up to all the possibilities and all the ideas of what the earth could look like or what you hope it would look like. Because even just thinking that plants a little seed in this planet. Then on the 15th, which is our last day for this video, we have Lilith entering Cancer, Mars entering Pisces, and then Mars trining Lilith. I really like this. As I was listing down Mars trine Lilith in Pisces and in Cancer, I'm just getting like such nurturing energy with this, where Mars is usually so headstrong and so you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. Mars is finally like, okay, maybe I'll listen to what you have to say. And Lilith is like, will you really? Will you really? Maybe I'll open up. But then still has that shell that's like, but if you don't respond the way I want you to respond, I might claw at you. So it's like it's a it it feels warm, but it also feels very passive. How does this feel to you? It feels a little bit passive aggressive now that I think about it.
I was actually gonna say it's very passive aggressive. Um Mars doesn't like Pisces. It's nope. It's its least favorite because Mars's fire is just it's doused and dampened by Piscean waters, where Mars wants control and structure and dominance. Pisces just wants to dissolve and be flowy and be mystical. Although Venus is so at home, um, in Pisces. So yep, this really feels like a lot of passive aggressive energy. But also this feels to me like with all actually what I'm getting here is a feeling of confusion. A lot of people may feel confused because they see what's not working, but because it's not working anymore, they don't know anything else that would work. Or even though they have an idea of what would work, they have an idea of what this higher consciousness and what an ideal society looks like, there is no current system or structure that supports this. So there can be a lot of like haziness where, you know what, my job doesn't make sense anymore, my life doesn't make sense, all the system just doesn't make sense, I want to dissolve into just goo. um, that can be a feeling like a lot of people just feeling dissociated with their current jobs and their current like just the current system, and they're just feeling hopeless and just dissolving into a state of confusion. But a gift here is when you're super down, there's nowhere else to go but up. And that card that you showed earlier, don't cover your face and look down because there are colors everywhere. If you just look around, nature is so abundant. So, with Mars in Pisces, go to Earth. Instead of going to water, try to go to a mountain. Try to see things from a higher perspective instead of being so down below and like looking at the horizon. Try to see things from all the way up and see an eagle's point of view, so that you realize that this is all just a moment in time. What's coming up for you?
All the way up. And that song started playing in my head. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.
Way up.
I think I don't want to add anything to what you said because you did awesome as always. There are not so many things happening in April, but everything that's happening feels really significant. And so we really had to go ahead and get it out. So we we invite you to take what sits, don't take what doesn't sit. We won't take offense. That's okay. We're just saying what we feel, and not everything we say will sit with everybody. So yeah, take what fits. Ask us questions for what doesn't fit. Share with us how it's landing in your body. Share with us if you think that what we're saying is way off. We're totally always open to constructive criticism so that we're able to get you to understand the astrology better. Because again, that's our goal here. We want you to understand it so that you're able to create your own story for yourself. Because we're done buying stories, we're creating stories.
Yeah, it took longer than we expected, but this is true Pisces fashion for you. We just flowed, and like Karina said, take what resonates, and then just drop everything that doesn't. It's a big month. There's not a lot of minor aspects. There's a lot of major conjunctions. This is actually one of the biggest major conjunctions for the year. A lot of people, a lot of astrologers are looking forward to this conjunction. We hope we were able to give you practical tips. Yeah, I think I want to end with always try to go within, right? Because the world outside is just a projection of what we need inside so that we can fix what's going on here and understand that the light is here. And when we're able to carry that torch forward, imagine the rainbow colors that we can create, right? You talked about the rainbow tribe from the Hopi prophecy last month, and this is that age, this is that time. We are one, but we are also many. And when that many converge, oh my gosh, the wonders and the miracles that we can all create together. There's always going to be a polarity, and as our state or the state of our consciousness just continues to evolve and goes higher, we will also see the lower sides and the lower vibrations. So that's the lesson, right? We know that we are stepping forward when we're actually seeing more shadows. And when we're able to integrate more of that shadow instead of bypassing it, just, incorporating the dark with the light and understanding that we are both light and dark, then, kumbaya. We'll see you on the other side. And with that, we'll see you on the second half. So yeah, hop on over at Discord if you're not with us there yet. We'll make sure to give out more bonuses this month to help you work through where these actions are happening in your chart. A couple of you did give that feedback that you want to incorporate more of these energies and see how this plays out in your own chart. That is what Discord is for. So please don't hesitate to just ask us questions over there. You have unlimited access to Karina and myself. Yeah, this is a big month to go after your dreams. Get out there. Enough with that fear. This is me talking to me too.
Yep, enough ruminating and time to light that match. This is the beginning, and so let's go get it. We'll see you soon, and thank you for being with us. We appreciate you, and thank you for letting us do what we love. We'll see you soon. Bye.